Rebekah and I'm here in Winter Haven, Florida, and I'm broadcasting with the Homeschool Connection on our blog, The Brew. And today we're going to be talking about reading and how to read. Before we do, I have to share this mug. I know it's backward because, because it is. And it says Step Aside Monday. Disclaimer, this is not my cup. I found it in the cabinet and cracked me up, so I had to use it this morning. So again, instead of saying Step Aside Monday, let's say Step Aside Tuesday, because sometimes you have those mornings that are just super duper duper crazy. And so I had a super duper duper crazy. Not really for any really particular reason. I just woke up late and felt like I was running a marathon with bears chasing me or something. Probably zombies. I would be a little more terrified of zombies than bears. Anyway, so Step Aside Tuesday, that's how we're going to feel. So today, we're going to talk about reading. All right, so reading encompasses a whole huge, vast, a plethora of things. So I have a bunch of stuff that we're going to share, and I'm going to try to go through it as quickly as I can, and I will probably have to stop, come back a couple times, and sort of that. So when we talk about reading, some people have different views on what the main things are. I think the main things when we're talking about reading are phonics, fluency, comprehension. Phonics, fluency, and comprehension. Now, you can branch off into some of those, and we're going to go into a little bit of that. First, when you're really young and we're first starting teaching reading, and we are in kindergarten or K4, and we're teaching, we talk about phonetic awareness. Okay, so phonetic awareness is when we break it down into completely break a word down. So cat is made up of 3 sounds. K, at, cat. Or fish. We know it's 4 letters, but it's 3 sounds. Sh, sh counts as 1. Okay, so like family. Family. We call those syllables. So that's what we're doing. When we talk about phonetic awareness, it's being able to hear those combinations of sounds. Some children cannot hear those combination of sounds. They don't have phonetic awareness. Most people don't realize this, but reading is an auditory skill, not a visual skill. If you cannot hear the sound, you cannot read it usually. So it's very hard to teach someone who is hard of hearing or different things that, or if they have anything like that, it's really, really hard to hear. So it's phonetic awareness is more than just recognizing sounds. It's also the ability to hold on to those sounds, to keep those sounds and make them into words. So for example, when we start with blends, it might be b, a, ba. Now when we add a third sound, it takes a little bit. So we have to teach them how to hold the sounds. B, at, bat. Okay, so phonetic awareness is the ability to blend those sounds together. So when we're talking about that, that's what we're saying. Do all kids need to have specific instruction in phonetic awareness? I think they do, because I think we need to teach them how to hear the sounds. Obviously some are going to pick it up quicker than others, but they need to be able to see and understand that each letter is a sound, and those sounds put together make words. Now, that a kindergartner, I think I read a study that it takes about 18 hours of phonetic awareness instructions, 30 minutes a week, 6 minutes a day, to really get them to read. So according to the NPR. So that's kind of a statistic that they even think that phonetic awareness is so important. So sometimes our kids will word recognize. We teach these like Baby Genius or I forget what some of them, the programs are, and really they're just they're memorizing what CAT, what that looks like, it means cat, or HAT, with those three words put together mean hat, but they don't actually have phonetic awareness. Now, there are some children that need specific help, and I have this program here. It's called LIPS program. This is just the manual. Linda Mood, it's sequencing program for reading, spelling, and speech. So it's almost like one that you can buy at home and work through, kind of like a speech therapy book. It goes very, very slow. It teaches about voiced and unvoiced sounds, like if you put your hand here and we talk, it vibrates. When we say, we don't feel it vibrate. It's an unvoiced sound, whereas g, as soon as you feel g, you can feel it. It's a voice sound. It even breaks it down. It goes super slow and it tells you exactly what to say. It breaks it down like a speech therapist with a mirror. And I don't know if you can see the picture here, but it talks about where your tongue should be in your mouth by using your hands. So when we say b, our tongue doesn't have anything to do with it, just has our lips. B. And so sometimes if a child can't hear it, we would use a program like this. Now this is incredibly slow. I have gone through this a couple times with children, and when I say incredibly slow, I mean incredibly slow. But if they cannot hear the sounds, if they cannot tell, and a lot of times b and p, b, p, we move our mouth the same way. We say b and p the same way, p, b, but one is voiced, one is unvoiced. Put your hand on your throat, you can feel b, p. No vibration. So if there is a child who cannot hear the difference between b and p, they probably don't have phonetic awareness, and we have to go back and try that again. Several other letters that have those mirrors. And if you have questions on that, we will go back over that later, hopefully, and be able to go over that more, talk about that more if you have questions on that. So I'm going to keep trucking because I could talk about phonetic awareness forever and why phonics is so important. My number one pet peeve is kids who do not read phonetically. So phonics, it's the technical definition of phonics is the relationship between a specific letter and its sound, okay, only as it relates to the written word. So my number one favorite love, because they've been around forever, is Rebekah for phonics. Rebekah was developed in the 70s. They really have not changed their reading program. If you are teaching to read, they're just phenomenal. I don't want to say that everybody else is copycats, but pretty much everybody else is a copycat. If you look, everyone pretty much does use Rebekah's Phonics Charts and their phonics system and their repetition and their way to do it. I mean, they were the first. They're the oldest private school that's still around, private school curriculum that's still around. They developed their reading program in the 70s when they were starting to switch into word recognition, and they really haven't changed it in all that time. Most people, that's what I grew up learning how to read from, was Rebekah Phonics, and I'm severely dyslexic, like really bad, and it has really helped me. So it goes slow, but here's the part that we're talking about. Phonics, they have phonics charts. So they are teaching how when I see specific sounds in duck, E in me, O in go, Y in fly. So every time I see A-Y, it says A, it's one sound, st. So I can send out stop, st, op, or I can know that ST makes st. Pull in plain, I can sound that out. I can go pull-ain, plain, or I can know that every time I see PL together, it says pull. So that's what we're trying to do. And then if you look on the other page, they go through each question with word list so that they can get more and more used to that. And so their phonics charts go up, and of course they get harder when we're adding more advanced sounds. that we would know full and beautiful, air and care, sure and pasture. When I say W-A-R, war, shun, and nation, all those sounds that we see more and more, they go through it, break it down. There are readers that go with it based on different levels. Phonics Charts, the repetition of seeing it. I really think for a lot of kids, that is the way to go. See, what happens with most kids is they start to word memorize. I did an assessment yesterday with a 14, 15-year-old, and when I tested his reading, when I did just plain words, so I gave him like something that would be in this book, a word list. Okay, and asked him to read simple, tackle, flicker. They were a little bit harder than this. Table, brittle, crackle. He couldn't read some of the words because he doesn't read phonetically. He kind of starts to read and he kind of knows what the words are. He had word memorized. When I gave him a comprehension test, he could get 100 on a comprehension test. He can figure out what the words around it make it what it means, but you know, he didn't read phonetically, doesn't really truly read phonetically. So that would be the second thing you need to fix. So first you need to figure out if they have phonetic awareness, if they can actually hear the sounds. Secondly, are we reading phonetically? Do you know phonics? Are you breaking down the words to be able to read it? So of course, most kids, reading does not show up until 3rd grade because, you know, we've only asked them to memorize 300 or 400 sets of words. Long, short words, that, and then all of a sudden in 4th grade, we have this huge thousands and thousands of words, and they don't know how to break that down and read phonetically. So phonics to me is super duper duper important. So according to NPR, phonics is the only one component of the reading process. Without that, you cannot read. For some reason, in a lot of our public schools, we have taken out a lot of the phonics repetition and put it in. Children need to be able to blend together sounds to decode words, and they have to be able to decode those words and break them down and able to spell them. So it all kind of goes together. Your spelling goes with the other, goes with the other. Okay, then we talk about fluency. What is fluency? It's reading text smoothly and accurately. So they can read phonetically, they can break the word down, but they read super choppy and they don't use great expression. Fluency. Couple things you can do for fluency. Read a lot. The more you read aloud, the better you practice it, it gets better. Practice makes perfect. Fluency comes from practice. Fluency comes from practicing every day. That's why, have you ever seen that? In Rebekah and the younger, they have reading circles 2 and 3 times a day. So those children are reading aloud 3 times a day, and then they go home and read, and then we have them read. So the more you read aloud, the better that child's fluency is going to be. Even if they are a slower reader and it's hard, the more they read aloud, the better it is. Now, here's something that when I first heard about it, I thought it was a little crazy, but now I'm a believer. Because I tried it. I usually like to try everything that I hear people try, and then I can give a real opinion on it. Read alouds. Read alouds build fluency like there is no tomorrow. There is a website called arfinder.com. You can type a book name in, and it will tell you what reading level it is. So if it is a 3.7, 3rd grade, 7th month. Reading aloud a book to a child that is above their reading level is going to build their fluency in their vocabulary. I absolutely love reading aloud, even for high school and middle school. I think it is a great listening skill. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world now, because of all the benefits there are of it. And we'll have to do a different thing on why read alouds are so amazing and good ideas for read alouds. But one thing I do with the read alouds is there's a website called Book Regs. And Book Regs, you can download questions. So for my 4th through 6th graders, I will download multiple choice questions and I will read them a book that's a little bit higher than their reading level, maybe a 6 or a 7. We did some lower ones this last year when I was teaching 4th through 6th grade. We did Charlotte's Web, we did the Mysterious Benedict Society, we did a couple C.S. Lewis. They would listen to me read it, and then they would answer the questions. I also got like the audiobooks, like that had a complete cast, but I found that most kids enjoy me personally reading aloud to them. They get a lot more out of it than listening to an audiobook. I love listening to audiobooks. I listen to them all the time, but to have me actually read, it seemed better than before. So that would kind of be for fluency. That helps build the vocabulary. We would talk about words in the story, ask the questions. It kind of helps them. Yeah, and so that's why we want them to read aloud, read aloud. It gives a higher word skills and recognition. One thing to really, really build fluency is this old, and you can still order these, Victory Drill book. Love. It doesn't matter what grade level you are, Victory Drill book. I use this for high schoolers and all the way up. Okay, and I always start from the beginning. I don't jump to the end. I start right to the beginning. And it says right here, there's a little chart that says how many words per minute you're supposed to read and what grade level. So 8th grade, they should read 130 words a minute. Kind of gives you the chart. But it is basically word lists. And there's little stars, so I know 5, and I give them 1 minute, and they try to read as many as they can in 1 minute. This builds fluency. Always start with the easy ones. They're super easy, so we can pass a bunch of words in 1 minute. But then they get harder and harder and harder as we get to the end. It does go through their own sets of phonics, but when we're getting very, very far to the end, the word list have words like outcome, pleasure, delicious, pieces, visitors, a little bit harder words to code. And you know, the goal is if you're an 8th grader, read 130 of these words in 1 minute. There are also worksheets you can buy with this. This is a similar book. This is called a Phonics Drill Reader. Same thing, phonics. Breaks it down a little bit different. Same thing, word list for the same. 1 minute drills. I usually do it for 3 minutes. We're done with that for the day. Moving on. So far we have phonetic awareness, fluency. Now we're going to talk a little bit about vocabulary. You can build that up by reading more and more. Text comprehension or reading comprehension. There are actually some children who, there's actually a muscle in our brain that you can work on for comprehension. The easiest way to see and ask a child if they don't understand what they read, when I read a book, it's like a movie in my head. Do you see it like a movie in your head? Okay, so some kids don't see it like a movie in their head. They don't picture, they don't visualize what they're seeing. Really shows up in high school kids. We're doing SAT and ACT because we got to be able to read, answer. A lot of times they don't see it like a movie in their head. There is a specific program called Visualizing and Verbalizing that you can do to help them with their comprehension. I like to use these writing style cards and kind of start with, you know, a picture and ask specific questions. What do you see? Okay, great. Now when we read the story, I want as many details. Comprehension takes a little bit. It's an everyday thing. Rebekah has these sheets for 1st through 8th grade called Read and Think. They also have speed and comprehension books. Really, really like. Read it. It's usually this one I have in plastic. The front of a page. Read the questions. Answer them on the back. You know, something I like to do with them daily. Really good idea. So that's something else you can work on if you're working on comprehension. Text comprehension, it can also be called that. And a lot of people sometimes throw spelling in with this, and you can, because spelling is very, very related to it. But you know, spelling and comprehension is part of that, because we want to be able to make predictions. That's part of comprehension. Questioning, story structure, summarizing, all of that is part of comprehension, that also can kind of be considered part of writing. So anyway, that's my really fast. I feel like I talked really fast and then went through a lot of stuff in a short amount of time. So quickly, for us for reading, in my opinion, there are three basic things that we need to make sure we're talking about. We need to talk about phonics, phonetic awareness. Do they understand the sounds? Can they recognize the sounds? Do they know how to break a word down phonetically? Phonics. Fluency. Can they read smoothly and quickly? That means they're taking their phonics and being able to break it down quickly. And then there's comprehension. Do they see it like a movie in their head? Three different areas. Now, and branches off of that would be vocabulary, spelling, things like that. How to boost vocabulary, how to boost spelling, how to break down a story, like we want them to do for writing. So that all kind of relates. But to me, there's three main things we need to make sure when we're reading. And those are the three main things I look for. And you can get more detailed and break that down. That was really quick, and hopefully it was some helps for you with it. There's all kinds of great, phenomenal reading resources out there. There are a million reading programs. And I say a million, there's literally, Google it, and everyone has a new reading program for you to try. But really look and find out which of those three things your child needs to work on, and then build a program for them from one of those three things, because each one does something a little bit different. So if you have any questions about this, any thoughts, any resources that you have tried that have worked out great for you, please, please, please share, share, share. If you are local, I will be tonight. We're going, Hope Homeschoolers has their first meeting. It's in Lakeland at First Presbyterian Church, and I will be there. I'm super excited. Also, if you would like, share our blog, our Facebook page, go check out our blog. It's www.thehomeschoolconnection.net, and underneath the brew will be information here and resources. And hope you all have a Step Aside Tuesday and have a great day. And I will see you next week. Well, I'll see you on Thursday. Thursday, if you have any questions or concerns or thoughts. And I look forward to seeing y'all then. Have a great day.